Kiki learned early that survival was louder than dreams. Dreams whispered. Hunger shouted. At 16, her world was a stretch of Lagos roads, Ojulegba to Yaba, where traffic stalled, horns argued endlessly, and the smell of fuel mixed with roasted corn and desperation. Every evening, as the sun dipped behind concrete flyovers, Kiki balanced a plastic tray on her head and stepped into the madness. Chin chin. Groundnut. Gala. Her voice was thin but determined, slicing through the noise of engines and impatience. She weaved between cars with the agility of someone who had done this too many times to count. Drivers barely looked at her. Some wound up their windows. Some waved her away like a fly. Occasionally, someone bought something not out of kindness but convenience. Every sale was a small victory. Every unsold snack was a reminder that tomorrow was never guaranteed. Kiki's slippers were worn thin, the soles peeling at the edges. Her dress had been washed so many times it had lost its original color. But her eyes still carried something stubborn and alive. A quiet refusal to give up. She wasn't always like this. Once she had gone to school. Once, she had believed she would be something more than a girl dodging bumpers at traffic lights. But life had narrowed after her parents died within the same year. An accident and an illness Lagos hospitals never treated in time. What remained of her world fit into one cramped room in a rundown building, shared with her grandmother, whose breathing sounded like a broken bellows. Chronic lung disease, the doctor had said. Long-term treatment. Expensive medication. Words that meant nothing until they translated into bills Kiki could not pay. So she sold snacks. In hope. That evening, traffic was worse than usual. Rain had just finished falling, leaving the roads shiny and dangerous. Red brake lights reflected on wet asphalt like warning signals. Kiki's tray felt heavier than normal, her neck sore, her stomach empty. She had eaten nothing since morning. Last round, she murmured to herself. Just sell the rest and go home. She crossed carefully, avoiding potholes filled with dirty rainwater, when something near the gutter caught her eye. Box. Mull. Black. Clean. Out of place. In Lagos, you learned quickly not to touch strange things. Curiosity could be expensive or deadly. People abandoned things for reasons you didn't want to know. Kiki walked past it, then stopped. Her chest tightened for no reason she could explain. She took 2 steps back, heart beating faster than the traffic horns around her. The box hadn't been there earlier. She looked around. No one seemed to be watching. Cars crawled forward. Drivers argued into their phones. The city continued, indifferent. Slowly, she bent and picked it up. It was heavy. Much heavier than snacks. Her fingers trembled as she hugged it to her chest and stepped away from the road. She found a small space near a closed kiosk and sat on a crate, her breathing shallow. Kiki, she whispered to herself. Don't be foolish. She opened the box. Time stopped. Money stared back at her. Neatly packed bundles. Crisp notes. Different currencies. The kind of money she had only seen on television. Money that didn't look real enough to touch. Her mouth went dry. She closed the box. Opened it again. Still there. Her hands shook violently now. Thoughts crashed into her mind all at once. This could pay Grandma's hospital bills. This could change everything. This could end this life. For a brief, dangerous second the world tilted. Then she saw it. A business card, resting calmly on top of the money. Black. Gold lettering. Nathan Hart's. K.O. Hart's Global Group. Kiki stared at the name like it might explain everything. Billionaire. The word echoed in her mind. She had heard it before on the radio, on television, whispered with awe. Men like that did not drop boxes of money on Lagos streets by accident. Her chest tightened with fear. This money wasn't lost. It was dangerous. She snapped the box shut, grabbed her tray and ran. Home was a single room with cracked walls and a flickering bulb that worked only when it felt like it. The air smelled of menthol rub and old wood. Her grandmother lay on the mattress, coughing deep, painful coughs that bent her thin body. Kiki, she croaked weakly. Is that you? Kiki dropped the tray and rushed to her side. Yes, Grandma. I'm here. She held her grandmother's hand, feeling how light it had become. Too light. Like something already half gone. The box sat by the door, silent and heavy. Kiki stared at it for a long time. Then she dragged it closer and opened it. Her grandmother's eyes widened. My God, she whispered. Kiki fell to her knees. Grandma. Found it. On the road. Silence filled the room, broken only by labored breathing. Slowly, painfully, her grandmother pushed herself up and looked into Kiki's face. This money, she said softly, is not ours. Kiki's chest burned. But it can save you, she cried. Just a little. Just enough to treat you. I'll return the rest. I promise. Tears streamed down her face, splashing onto the floor. Her grandmother shook her head. No, she said firmly. If you take what is not yours, it will follow you like a shadow. We may be poor, but we are not thieves. Kiki sobbed until her throat hurt. What if honesty kills you? She whispered. Her grandmother cupped her face with trembling hands. Then let me die knowing I raised a daughter with a clean heart. That night Kiki didn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, listening to coughing, counting the cracks, holding the box like it might vanish if she let go. Outside, Lagos roared. Inside, a young girl stood at the edge of a choice that would test everything she was. And by morning she would make it. Morning came without mercy. Kiki had not slept. Her eyes burned, swollen from crying, but the city outside did not care. Lagos never paused for grief, doubt, or fear. Simply moved, loud, impatient, demanding. Her grandmother's coughing woke her before dawn. It came in harsh fits now, tearing through the silence, bending her fragile body forward as if something inside her chest was clawing to get out. Kiki rushed to her side, rubbing her back gently, whispering prayers she had memorized since childhood. It's okay, Grandma. I'm here, breathe slowly. When the coughing finally eased, her grandmother leaned back weakly, sweat shining on her forehead. Kiki, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Today, you must return that box. Kiki swallowed hard. She had known this moment would come. Still, her chest tightened like a fist had closed around her heart. Yes, Grandma, she replied, though fear sat heavy on her tongue. The box lay under the bed, wrapped in an old wrapper as though hiding it could make the decision easier. Kiki pulled it out slowly, her hands shaking again. The money was still there. Too much. Too tempting. She reached into the box and picked up the business card. Nathan Hart's. The name felt heavier today. She stared at the phone number printed neatly beneath it. For a long time she didn't move. What if he accused her of stealing? What if he thought she was lying? What if he didn't believe a poor girl from the street? What if returning the box was the biggest mistake of her life? Her grandmother watched her quietly, as though reading her thoughts. My daughter, she said gently, do what is right, even when your knees are shaking. Kiki nodded, tears gathering again. She stepped outside to make the call. Call rang once. By the third ring, her heart was pounding so loudly she was sure the person on the other end could hear it. Hello, a deep voice answered. Controlled. Kiki froze. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Hello. The voice repeated, firmer now. Yes, sir, she finally said, her voice barely steady. My name is Kiki. I found something that belongs to you. Silence. Pause so long her stomach dropped. What exactly did you find? The man asked slowly. A box, she replied quickly. With money. And your card. Another pause. Where are you calling from? Kiki glanced around the empty street, suddenly feeling exposed. Lagos, sir. Near Ojulegba. The line went quiet again. Do not touch anything in that box, he said sharply. Where is it now? My house, she answered. My grandmother told me to return it. This time the silence felt heavier. Suspicious. Listen carefully, he said. Come to my office today. I will send the address. Bring the box. Say nothing to anyone. Kiki's throat tightened. Yes, sir. The call ended. She stared at the phone long after the screen went dark. Her legs felt weak. The journey to Victoria Island felt unreal. Kiki had only ever seen places like this on television. Glass buildings stretching into the sky, quiet roads, cars that moved without shouting. She clutched the box tightly as she rode in the bus, every bump making her heart leap. People stared. A girl in worn clothes, holding a mysterious box, eyes darting nervously. It was impossible not to notice her. She imagined every scenario. What if he takes the money and arrests me? What if this is a trap? What if I faint in his office? By the time she got down at the bus stop, her palms were wet with sweat. The building stood tall and intimidating, polished glass, guards at the entrance, men and women dressed like confidence was stitched into their clothes. Kiki hesitated. She almost turned back. Then she remembered her grandmother's breathing. The way her chest struggled for air. The way she smiled even in pain. Kiki straightened her shoulders and walked in. The receptionist looked her up and down. "Yes?" she asked coolly. "I'm here to see Mr. Nathan Hartz," Kiki said softly. The woman raised an eyebrow. "Do you have an appointment?" "Yes," Kiki replied, holding up the business card with trembling fingers. "He asked me to come." The receptionist made a call. Her expression changed slightly. "You can go in," she said after a moment. Kiki's heart nearly stopped. She followed a security guard into a large office. Nathan Hart stood by the window, his back to her. Well-dressed. The kind of man whose presence filled a room without effort. He turned slowly. His eyes landed on the box first. Then on her. "You're the girl," he said. Not a question. "Yes, sir." "Put it on the table." She did. He opened the box, checked the contents carefully, then closed it. His jaw tightened slightly, though his face remained calm. "You have no idea what could have happened if this had fallen into the wrong hands," he said. "I know, sir," Kiki replied quickly. "That's why I came." He studied her now, not the box, her clothes, her shoes, her posture, the fear she was trying so hard to hide. "You could have disappeared with this money," he said. "No one would have found you." "I know," she whispered. "So why didn't you?" Kiki swallowed. "Because my grandmother said if I take what is not mine, I'll lose my peace." For the first time, something flickered across Nathan Hart's face. Surprise. He leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. "People like you don't exist anymore," he said quietly. Kiki said nothing. He opened a drawer and pulled out an envelope, sliding it across the table. "This is for your honesty," he said. "Take it." Kiki stared at the envelope. Her hands didn't move. The tension in the room thickened. "Sir," she said slowly, voice shaking but clear, "if you truly want to help me, please help my grandmother. She's very sick. And please help me go to school. I want to study marketing and advertising." Nathan's expression hardened. The air changed. "So now," he said coldly, "you return my money and tell me how to spend it?" Her heart sank. "I'm not ordering you, sir," she cried. "I'm begging." He stood up abruptly. "Get out," he said sharply. Entitlement dressed as humility is still entitlement. Security stepped forward. Kiki felt the world spin. She picked up nothing, no envelope, no money, only her dignity already cracked. As she was led out, tears blurred her vision. She had done the right thing. Why did it hurt this much? Kiki did not remember how she left the building. She only remembered the way her legs shook as she walked past the glass doors, the way the guards avoided her eyes, the way the city outside rushed on as if nothing important had just happened. Victoria Island glittered under the afternoon sun. Clean roads, polished cars, people walking with purpose. Felt like another country entirely. One she had never belonged to. She clutched her empty hands and walked. The bus stop she finally broke. Her shoulders shook as tears spilled freely, blurring the world around her. People glanced at her, then looked away. Lagos had taught everyone how to mind their business. She had gone there with honesty. She had left with humiliation. The ride home felt longer than the journey there. Each bump of the bus echoed the words still ringing in her ears. Entitlement dressed as humility. Kiki pressed her forehead against the window, watching buildings fade into markets, markets into broken roads, wealth into survival. By the time she reached her street, the sun was already sinking. Home smelled the same: damp walls, herbs, and sickness. Her grandmother lay on the mattress, eyes closed, breathing shallow. For a second, fear stabbed Kiki's chest. She dropped her bag and rushed forward. "Grandma," she whispered urgently. Her grandmother's eyes fluttered open. "Kiki," she said softly. "You're back." Kiki collapsed beside her, tears pouring uncontrollably now. All the strength she had borrowed for the day cracked at once. "He chased me out," she sobbed. "He said I was entitled. I did the right thing, Grandma. I swear I did." Her grandmother reached for her hand, her grip weak but steady. "Slow down, my child," she murmured. "Breathe." Kiki tried. Failed. Tried again. "He offered me money," Kiki continued through sobs. "But I refused. I asked him to help you. And to help me go to school. He was angry. So angry." Her grandmother listened quietly, her eyes fixed on the ceiling, as if she were looking beyond it. After a long moment she spoke. "My daughter," she said gently. "Come closer." Kiki leaned in. "God places it in the hearts of men to bless others," her grandmother whispered. "Sometimes you will do the right thing and still not be helped by people. You might beg. You might cry. You might explain yourself perfectly. And still nothing." Kiki sniffed, her chest aching. "But when God places it in someone's heart," her grandmother continued, "they do not rest until they obey him. Cheer up, my daughter. If that man is meant to help us, you will not need to beg. God's blessings do not come with humiliation." Kiki closed her eyes, letting the words sink in. "What if he doesn't come back?" she whispered. "What if this was our only chance?" Her grandmother smiled faintly. "Then another door will open," she said. "Because honesty never leaves a person empty. It only feels that way at first." That night, her grandmother's coughing worsened. Kiki barely slept, counting breaths, wiping sweat, whispering prayers into the darkness. She wondered if she had been foolish. If pride had cost them everything. If doing the right thing was a luxury meant only for those who could afford it. Across the city, Nathan Hartz sat alone in his office. The box lay on the table, closed but heavy with meaning. He had handled billions. Signed deals that ruined men and built empires. He was used to control, used to people wanting something from him, flattering him, manipulating him. But the girl's face would not leave his mind. Her trembling hands, her refusal of the envelope, her cracked voice when she spoke about her grandmother. "If you truly want to help me." Nathan loosened his tie, irritated with himself. She had crossed a line, he told himself. People always did. Kindness was an invitation for demands. He had learned that lesson early, too early. Still, she hadn't asked for the money. She had asked for care. He remembered the look in her eyes when security escorted her out. Not anger, not greed. Something shifted uncomfortably in his chest. He dismissed it and went home. But sleep refused him. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, memories creeping in uninvited. His own childhood. The nights his mother coughed until dawn, too poor for proper treatment. The neighbor who paid for her medication without being asked. He sat up abruptly, annoyed, restless. Entitled, he had called the girl. Yet she had walked away with nothing. By morning, guilt sat heavy where certainty had been. Back in the one-room apartment, Kiki woke to silence. Too much silence. Her heart skipped. "Grandma," she called. No answer. Fear clawed at her throat as she rushed to her side. Her grandmother's eyes were open, unfocused. Her breathing shallow, uneven. Kiki screamed for help. Neighbors rushed in. Someone called a local clinic. Another fetched water. Chaos filled the room. As they carried her grandmother out, Kiki followed, numb, her mind screaming one question over and over. Did I make the wrong choice? That afternoon, as Kiki sat outside the clinic, eyes hollow, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. Her heart jumped painfully. She stared at the screen, afraid to hope. Slowly she answered. Hello. Kiki, a familiar voice said quietly. This is Nathan Hart's. Her breath caught. I owe you an apology. Her hands trembled. I was wrong. Tears spilled down her cheeks, not of joy yet, but of something fragile and dangerous. Oh. And somewhere deep within Nathan Hart's, a truth he had tried to bury finally surfaced. Some blessings refused to be ignored. Nathan Hart's did not remember the last time his hands had shaken. Boardrooms never did that to him. Neither did negotiations nor hostile takeovers. He had learned long ago how to separate emotion from decision, mercy from weakness. Yet as he sat in the back of his car, Lagos traffic crawling forward inch by inch, his fingers trembled slightly against his phone. Kiki. He had said her name out loud for the first time, tasting it like something fragile. I owe you an apology. The silence on the other end of the line had nearly broken him. He closed his eyes, leaning his head back as the city moved around him. Hawkers shouting, engines groaning, impatience hanging thick in the air. This time the noise felt intrusive, undeserved. Where are you? He asked gently. At a clinic, Kiki replied, her voice thin. My grandmother, she got worse. Nathan's chest tightened. I'm coming, he said without thinking. The words surprised even him. The clinic was small and overwhelmed, faded paint, cracked benches, a line of worried faces waiting for help that always came too late. When Nathan arrived, his presence shifted the air immediately. People stared. He stepped inside and found Kiki seated on a bench, her shoulders slumped, eyes red and swollen. She looked smaller than he remembered. Younger. She stood when she saw him, unsure whether to greet him or shrink away. I'm sorry, he said before she could speak. The words landed heavily between them. I shouldn't have spoken to you the way I did. I misjudged you. Kiki's lips trembled. I didn't come here to beg you, sir, she said quickly. I know, Nathan interrupted softly. And that's why I'm here. He turned to the clinic staff, introducing himself briefly. Within minutes, arrangements were being made, tests ordered, oxygen brought, specialists contacted. The chaos began to organize itself around his calm authority. Kiki watched stunned. Why? She whispered. Nathan looked at her, really looked at her this time. Because some people return money, he said. Very few return integrity. Her grandmother was transferred to a better hospital that same day. Clean rooms, quiet corridors, machines that hummed reassurance instead of despair. Kiki sat by her bedside, holding her hand, afraid to blink in case the miracle vanished. Her grandmother's eyes opened slowly. Kiki, she murmured. I'm here, Grandma, Kiki said, tears streaming freely now. Her grandmother smiled faintly, her breathing already easier. God has remembered us, she whispered. Kiki glanced at Nathan standing quietly near the door. His presence respectful, almost hesitant. Yes, Kiki said softly. He has. Nathan returned the next morning. This time he brought documents. I've paid for your grandmother's full treatment, he said plainly. And her medications. Long-term care. Everything. Kiki covered her mouth with her hands. Sir, thank you, she whispered, unable to form better words. There's more, he added. He slid a folder toward her. I've enrolled you in school, he said. Marketing and advertising. Full scholarship. You start next term. The room seemed to tilt. Kiki stared at the papers, her vision blurring. I didn't do the right thing to be rewarded, she said shakily. I know, Nathan replied. That's why you deserve it. He hesitated, then continued. I'm also setting up a small business fund for you. Something flexible, so you can care for your grandmother while you study. Kiki broke down completely. Years of held-back fear, exhaustion, and disbelief poured out of her. She cried into her hands, her shoulders shaking, unable to speak. Nathan looked away, giving her space. He felt something loosen in his chest. Something he hadn't known was tight. Later that day, Nathan stood alone in the hospital corridor, staring out the window at the sprawling city. He thought of the box of money. How easily he could have lost it, and how easily he could have lost himself. He realized then that wealth had insulated him from something essential. He had grown suspicious of need, allergic to vulnerability. Kiki had forced him to remember a version of himself he had buried, the boy who once needed help and was saved by kindness. When he returned to the room, Kiki's grandmother was awake, her breathing steady. She looked at Nathan for a long moment, eyes sharp despite her frailty. "You are the man from the box," she said. "Yes, ma'am," Nathan replied respectfully. She nodded slowly. "My daughter did not steal from you," she said. "She brought you back your conscience." Nathan swallowed. "You raised her well," he said quietly. Her grandmother smiled. "I only taught her to listen to God." Before Nathan left that evening, Kiki walked him to the door. "Sir," she said hesitantly, "thank you for coming back." He shook his head. "Thank you for not becoming bitter," he said. "The world doesn't need more bitterness. It needs people who still choose what's right, even when it hurts." As he walked away, Nathan knew something had changed, not just in Kiki's life, in his. Healing did not happen all at once. Came quietly, in small, steady breaths. For the first time in years, Kiki woke up without fear tightening her chest. The machines beside her grandmother hummed softly, not like warnings but like reassurance. The old woman slept more peacefully now. Her coughing reduced to shallow reminders instead of violent interruptions. Kiki sat beside her bed every morning, watching her chest rise and fall, afraid to believe fully that this was real. Hope, she had learned, could be dangerous when you had been disappointed too many times. Yet day after day, the doctors brought good news. Her lungs are responding well. She's stronger today. She should be able to go home soon with proper care. Each sentence felt like a gift Kiki did not know how to unwrap without trembling. Nathan Hartz kept his word. Quietly, efficiently, without cameras or announcements, he arranged for home care nurses. Supplied medications that had once sounded like distant miracles. Even ensured their one-room apartment was renovated, walls repaired, ventilation improved, a proper bed installed for her grandmother. When Kiki protested, overwhelmed, Nathan stopped her gently. "This is not charity," he said. "It's responsibility. I let my pride speak where my conscience should have." Those words stayed with her. School began 3 months later. The first day, Kiki stood at the gate clutching her admission letter like it might disappear. The campus buzzed with young people laughing, complaining, dreaming aloud. She felt out of place again. But this time she walked in anyway. Marketing and advertising. The words looked unreal on her student ID. First she struggled. Not because she wasn't intelligent, but because poverty had taught her to think in survival, not strategy. While others talked about brands and campaigns casually, Kiki saw stories, people, emotions. Her lecturers noticed. "She understands consumers," one said. "She reads between the lines," another observed. Kiki studied harder than she had ever worked at anything. Late nights, early mornings, notes filled with careful handwriting and silent prayers. She never forgot where she came from. On weekends she still sold snacks, but now not because she had no choice, but because she wanted to support her grandmother and remind herself of the road she had walked. Nathan watched from a distance. He did not hover. He did not interfere. But he checked in. Sometimes with a message. Sometimes with a brief visit. He had learned restraint. One afternoon, he invited Kiki to his office again. This time she walked in without fear. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. He slid a folder toward her. "I'm launching a social impact arm of my company," he explained. "Focused on ethical branding and grassroots markets. I want you to intern there. Kiki's heart skipped. But I'm still learning, she said honestly. That's why it's called learning, he replied. She smiled, really smiled, for the first time in his presence. Months turned into a year. Kiki grew. Her confidence sharpened. Her voice strengthened. She learned to speak in rooms that once intimidated her. She learned to disagree respectfully, to present ideas boldly, to see value in her perspective. Her grandmother watched her transformation with quiet pride. You see, she said one evening as they sat together in their improved home, the windows open to fresh air. God did not forget us. Kiki nodded, emotion thick in her throat. I almost doubted, she admitted. Her grandmother smiled. Faith is not the absence of doubt, she said. It is choosing right even while doubting. The day Kiki graduated, the auditorium was filled with applause. Nathan Hart sat among the audience, unnoticed, as Kiki walked across the stage. When her name was called, he stood. Not loudly, not dramatically, but with respect. Kiki spotted him and froze for a fraction of a second. Then she smiled and continued walking. Later, as cameras flashed and classmates celebrated, Nathan approached her. You did this, he said simply. You made it possible, Kiki replied. No, he said gently. You made yourself ready. I only responded when God wouldn't let me sleep. She laughed softly through tears. That evening, as they visited her grandmother together, the old woman held Nathan's hands and looked at him intently. You came back, she said. Yes, Nathan replied. Many would not have. I almost didn't, he admitted. She nodded slowly. But you listened, she said. That is enough. Years later, Kiki stood before a group of young girls at a community center near Ojulegba. Girls who sold snacks. Girls who dodged traffic. Girls whose dreams whispered while hunger shouted. She told them her story. Not dramatically, truthfully. I returned money that could have changed my life, she said. And for a moment, it felt like honesty punished me. The girls listened wide-eyed. But character is a seed, Kiki continued. It may take time, but it grows into a future no shortcut can give you. Pause. Never let desperation steal your integrity. Because when God wants to bless you, He does not need you to beg. He moves hearts on your behalf. Nathan Hartz watched that video later that night. He replayed it twice, then once more. And for the first time in many years he smiled, not with satisfaction but with humility. Doing the right thing may cost you in the moment, but it positions you for blessings that last a lifetime. Integrity attracts destiny. And when God decides to bless you, you won't need to beg. He will move hearts until help finds you. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button and like if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to tell us what you think of the story and where you are watching from. Bye for now.